Well, at least 7 people are dead, dozens more injured after a gunman fired more than 70 rounds from a roof overlooking the parade route in Highland, Illinois, yesterday.
And according to police, the suspect is a 22-year-old white male who was dressed in women's clothing to evade the police. And he had a high-powered rifle that was recovered from the scene. And officials say that the rifle was purchased legally in Illinois. A second gun was located in the suspect's vehicle, and other weapons were found at his residence. Police say the suspect has been planning this attack for weeks, but acted alone. No motive has been found yet, and we're still waiting for charges to be filed.
Yeah, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker held a press conference yesterday where he didn't hesitate to rip the Second Amendment. Take a look.
Our founders carried muskets, not assault weapons. And I don't think a single one of them would have said that you have a constitutional right to an assault weapon with a high-capacity magazine, or that that is more important than the right of the people who attended this parade today to live.
And Illinois Lieutenant Governor seconded that opinion, Sean, issuing the following statement saying this, quote, "There are too many guns on our streets, and we must enact common sense gun laws, stricter policies, and put resources in place to build the safe, healthy communities that everyone deserves."
Yep, for more on this, let's bring in former Arizona State Police Lieutenant Dave Smith. Dave is also the primary trainer and consultant for law enforcement, public safety, and private security personnel throughout the United States. So, Dave, thanks for joining us. The Lieutenant Governor of Illinois says we need more gun laws. But here's the thing. Illinois has the 6th strictest gun safety laws in the entire country, and it has the 9th lowest rate of gun ownership. The city of Highland Park even passed a ban on assault weapons back in 2013. The Giffords Law Center gave Illinois an A- rating for gun safety. I mean, these are the folks who want tough gun restrictions. They're saying these guys are among the best at restricting your constitutional rights. And yet Illinois was the 27th highest gun death rate in the country. So I guess my question is, what more do you think could be done? What piece of legislation that could have been added to a list could have prevented this?
You know, I'll tell you what, a couple issues. Like you're right, Illinois, I've lived there years and years. You know, my wife is a former suburban Chicago cop, and we're very familiar with those gun laws. The thing is that any one thing that would mitigate this would have to do with mental health and issues about that, following up, dealing with. These are very complicated social issues, and everybody wants an easy solution. There isn't one, and I'll tell you, law enforcement is not the solution for social problems. And it's time for us to quit talking about guns and talk about real problems in this country.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, Dave, because just this morning, the mayor of Highland Park was actually on Good Morning America. And when asked about mental health and how important mental health is, pretty much demurred, saying that we need to focus more on gun control laws. But when I look back just a few weeks ago, after the Uvalde tragic shooting that happened there, the mayor actually said what you're saying, that we need to focus more on mental health and less on gun reform. Why is it so controversial to be focusing and putting mental health at the forefront of this conversation? It seems like oftentimes the left doesn't want to focus on mental health.
Well, that's one of the problems we've always had, you know, ever since I was a young rookie officer in the 70s. You know, we found our streets were filling up with emotionally disturbed people who were no longer being institutionalized. Warehousing wasn't the solution, but we haven't really stepped up and picked the right way. Our streets in this country are full of people who are emotionally disturbed and need help, and we're not doing it. Instead, we're focusing, again, like I said, on issues that are less important because this isn't the real problem. If you're predisposed to hurt people, you will find a tool to hurt people.
Right.
If it's not a gun, it may be a bomb, it may be a knife, it may be a vehicle, or maybe poison. We don't know what it's going to be. We have seen this in our society over the decades. And this is one of the problems. I can't give you an instant solution for dealing with people who are emotionally disturbed, but we have to start talking about it. We're not discussing it at all. Instead, we're passing these laws like these red flag laws where we can go after law-abiding citizens on suspicion, and we're not dealing with people who have real emotional problems. Like this kid in Illinois, everybody saw these problems building, His rap videos, you look at those, they're all indicating some form of predisposition to violence. We're not dealing with it.
So I want to actually pick up on that because he's got these videos, right, that apparently have come out, some stuff on social media. But you brought up law enforcement before. So everybody wants to, every time there's a shooting or some kind of incident like this, they look back and say, okay, well, what were the red flags? Did, this guy, he killed a cat. There were videos on a social media site. As a law enforcement official, if somebody were to flag something like that, what authority would you have had, or what tools could you get to address that? Because I guess my question is, somebody calls and says, hey, there's this guy, he does, he's a loner, he doesn't have any friends, he posts crazy stuff. I don't know, is that against the law? I mean, I guess you could do a check on him, but that doesn't stop him from doing something subsequently, right?
Well, that's one of the issues. Locally, agencies often have the power to have a guy brought in for an observation if they suspect he's a threat to himself or others, and you can do a mandatory. And again, wherever you live, you folks watching need to find out what is your state's policies and laws regarding this. The thing is that we're talking about red flags laws. Well, wait, what if we got a guy? Why am I letting an emotionally disturbed young man buy a video game? Why am I letting, which is full of these predisposing events of violence? And we have a lot of questions. And again, this is I've been thinking about this for 40 years and trying to solve it. I can't give you an easy solution, but it's got to quit being something that they throw to law enforcement and say, what law will pass? Well, what social activity can we do? What social movement? What kind of institutions need to adapt to it? Education, for instance, needs to be better at dealing with this kind of thing. They're the ones day to day dealing with these kids, and this is the kind of thing where I wish I had a ready solution. These laws, Illinois, number one, you've got excellent police officers in that state. I know from living there, I know from training there for years, outstanding law enforcement officers, outstanding SWAT teams. They're leaders in some of the tactics in the nation. And yet here you see there's no, people are saying, well, where was the good guy with the gun? Well, they were there. But this is that kind of thing that makes violence so dangerous and that predisposition for violence. And Sean, you're right. This is something we need to start a national dialogue and not a monologue like we get so often in forms of lectures. We need to have an actual discussion and debate about how to solve these things.
Absolutely. I think what you do, Dave, you train law enforcement officials. When I look back to what happened, the tragic events in Waukesha, Wisconsin, just at that Christmas parade, Daryl Brooks driving through with an SUV, tragic event. I almost think that parades now, we see that they can be a target. I don't want to blame anyone here, but what can be done to make sure that there aren't people planning out these acts of violence when you have innocent bystanders out there trying to celebrate Independence Day with their families, and you have people hiding out on rooftops or wherever getting ready to commit some terrible crime?
That's a very important question, Lizzie. And that's the thing is, that see something, say something is an important concept. Individual citizens have to have that, what we call in law enforcement, that situational awareness. Pay attention to suspicious activity. It's okay to notify people something looks strange. And not only that, social media, we have to start monitoring social media for these kinds of signs and symptoms of violence. And also, this is the whole thing in schools. Like I said, educators, when the kids drawing diagrams or drawing artwork of violence and death, these are the kind of things that need to be investigated and discussed. And again, we're at the point now, literally whether you're in a church, a school, a synagogue, or in a parade, you want to have armed people there to protect you, citizens trained. I'm a big believer in the armed citizen protecting their own communities.
Yeah. Dave Smith, appreciate your expertise this evening. Thanks for being here with us to weigh in.
Thank you. My pleasure.